After 30 weeks and now approaching 3,000 cases in the United States, we finally have a drag queen who's made the news for a sex crime. But before you right-wingers start saying, "I told you so," no, this had nothing to do with the child, nothing to do with Drag Queen Story Hour, or really nothing to do with conduct any more serious than what notoriously anti-LGBTQ right-wing kook Congresswoman Lauren Boebert was caught on tape doing and was soon thereafter thrown out of a public theater for doing this past week. But she had no criminal charges. In fact, the drag queen wasn't even in drag, but if I hadn't mentioned it, we'd have heard all that, "Oh, you're cherry picking," all over again. Still, he doesn't go in our statistics because we look at assaults on children, and that was not what he did. What is more serious, along with the pastors who made the news for sex crimes that actually involved children this week, and for the first time, there was an Islam-based Kansas cult in the news for the same thing, 2 drag queens were shot and killed as the rhetoric from extremists like Republican presidential wannabe Ron DeSantis and Oklahoma religious activist turned education commissioner Ryan What's-His-Name all ramped up. We haven't seen anyone doing that kind of thing to the people who've actually been molesting kids. But then the politicians making news to date have been more than 81% Republicans. And the 8 states in our database with the worst per capita incidents of sexual assaults on children, as well as 16 of the worst 20, are all controlled by Republicans. This week, the total's 219 cases, with no fewer than 23 people involved in the religion industry, including 17 pastors, 7 of them for the first time, reportedly in an Islam-based cult in Kansas. But Christians shouldn't feel left out. They had all the rest. And we got some new information on one previous offender, a school teacher, who it turns out is also a Mormon deacon. Our other notables, 25 family friends or neighbors, 14 family members, 6 coaches, 10 teachers or aides, and 7 police officers. And who are the ones who didn't make the cut? Well, there was the youth pastor charged with attempted murder for setting a house on fire with his own wife and 4 children inside. There was the Texas pastor whose idea of worship apparently includes him groping women during services in his church. There was the Long Beach, California priest who was arrested with hundreds of images of child sex, the Fort Worth bishop and 10 nuns involved in a sex and drug scandal, and of course the Secretary General of the U.S. Conference of Bishops, who had a secret life on Grindr and in gay bars. And we shouldn't forget the Virginia pastor who made news when he pulled a gun on his own son. Criminal charges against him dropped. And as I noted, none were filed against the extremist right-wing Congresswoman Lauren Boebert, but they were against the drag queen, even though both of them really could have been charged with exactly the same thing. And I'd note that these right-wing Christians are the ones running around saying their invisible sky friend is more important than and should be above the American government, and that you should, and I quote, respect authority.
Learn how to have a healthy relationship with your authorities.
Their authority? Hell no.